Hi, and welcome to the Energy Perspectives podcast. My name is Will Bernholz, and I am very glad to present a special episode for you today. On the podcast, we have Cam Thrutchley of Satterfield and Pontikes, Michael Wood of DG Matrix, and our CEO, Monika Simoes. In this conversation, we'll explore a brand new data center infrastructure program that's just been announced, as well as how this incredible partnership was found and formed at a Energy Dialogues forum, specifically at the North American Gas Forum, and connects back to our Next Gen program. Let's dive right in. So first, I want to start with what brought us here today, which is a major program announcement from Michael and Cam. So let's start with that. Michael, we'll start with you.
Happy to, and very glad to be here. This feels like a little bit of a family reunion. But yeah, it's hard to go anywhere without seeing headlines about AI data centers. Go open the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or any publication. AI data centers are front and center, and energy is front and center of those AI data centers. And so really this entire data center boom has shifted not just to how do we actually deploy data center infrastructure, it's how do we deploy energy infrastructure. And DG Matrix as a company has been at the forefront of that energy infrastructure space across multiple markets. And we've really been dragged headfirst into the AI data center business via some of our relationships with the very large chip makers, the hyperscalers, as well as some of the largest AI data center builders in the world. And the reality of what our customers are asking for in the market is they need speed to power, they need preparation for the future of AI workloads, and more than anything, they need certainty that they can get projects online and that they can deliver on time for their customers. And in the market today, all of the folks that we are working with, they're not coming to us and they're asking for technology. They're coming to us and they're saying, we need you to deliver megawatts and we need you to deliver those as fast as possible. And so that's caused us to go out into the market and line up, who are the best people across the entire industry who can help us, not just on our piece, but across every single part of the data center life cycle, from design and inception through getting it commissioned, energized. And that really led us to Cam and S&P. They're one of the best names in the business, have been around for decades building data centers all over Texas, working with some of our shared clients as well, and just have a phenomenal reputation. And they've added a lot of great value to what we're able to offer to our clients, and to say, hey, we're not just delivering product, we're delivering data centers and we're delivering power.
Cam, just throwing it over to you. Can you speak to a little bit your vision for the strategic program and your firm?
Yeah, you bet. So yeah, Will, Monika, thanks for inviting Michael and I to the conversation. It's been, you guys know, right? I'm 30 years in the sort of the natural gas and technology construction world. And so kind of the new guy to the data center world in the last year plus. It's the constant conversations everywhere you go with every client is speed to power. And so when I got to know the Satterfield and Pontikes team, it's a tremendous family run organization, been around for 40 years. Our sort of phrase is nobody knows Texas like S&P. And that'll be part of our niche of what we're doing, providing to the data center world, is being able to deliver turnkey solutions as not just a good neighbor, but a great neighbor in the state of Texas. And so Michael and I ran into each other. Michael and I met originally, I think almost 4 years ago now at the North American Gas Forum in DC. I've got a long relationship with Monika. I don't know if it's maybe 12 years now, Monika, that we've been doing the North American Gas Forum together. And somewhere along the way, and I guess it was Monika's idea, was to bring scholarship students to the Gas Forum. And Michael was part of that first cohort. And I knew there was something different about Michael. I'm like, okay, I would love to mentor you. And so that's kind of how we met and got to know each other. And then 3 years later, run into him at the, we had talked here and there along the way, but ran into each other at PTC, Pacific Telecom Conference, big data center conference, and realized we had both moved into the data center world. And so kind of, immediately Michael said, man, our company is right deer in the headlights technology product an offering that our clients are absolutely going to need in a NVIDIA 800 VDC future state world. Michael can go into it much deeper than I can, but I said, hey, that's perfect. We're a turnkey, a general contractor. We don't have products, and so there's probably a great opportunity to partner here. And what happened along the way was Senate Bill 6 came along, and which requires greater than 75 megawatts behind the meter, or requires greater than 75 megawatts BESS on your project, and kind of leads into this requirement for a multi-port power router, and kind of led to DG Matrix being a perfect solution in the state of Texas for every data center client, and led us to this idea of developing a turnkey partnership to be able to deliver at speed and scale for our clients.
Monika, you've been doing the energy convenings for quite a while. I'm curious, now that hyperscalers and data center developers are more deeply integrated into nearly every energy conversation, how is convening this group of companies different? Do they speak the same language? Do they work on the same timescales? Do they have the same interest? How have you seen things change as some of the players have changed?
It's really interesting because the North American Gas Forum has come up. Cam mentioned it. Cam has been participating since day one, and natural gas and LNG, which historically is what Energy Dialogues has been quite focused on, is very much a long game. Right? Energy in general is. It's not very transactional in most places and most of the time. You meet someone. This is a great example for that. You meet someone, you run into them a few years later. You do a lot of professional dating, so to speak, before you actually engage. Energy thinks in multi-year timelines, whether it's permitting and interconnection queues and getting gas turbines and all of those issues. It's not typically fast. Nothing happens fast in energy. And now you bring in the hyperscalers and data centers, and it's a complete different industry. They don't speak the same language. They don't function on the same timeline. Both Cam and Michael mentioned speed and fast, and I think that is one of the key things that is changing really the entire conversation in energy and what we're doing and what this industry now has to focus on. It's and so I think it's really interesting to bring these groups together. Yes, we love to bring the traditional energy industry together, but bringing this whole new sector in, bringing companies together that have never worked together in the past, but now have a huge opportunity, but also a lot of things to work through and challenges. Well, we love to be at the center of this during our dialogues and make sure that we create the right setting. We're able to bring the right people in. And I think that's still evolving because, mentioning the thinking about LNG, who the players are, who has worked together and who are credible counterparties. It's a long established industry. Now we're figuring a lot of things out. And so it's really important to sit down, to have these dialogues. For us, it's really important to bring a diverse group of people together and make sure that they sit down and sit at the table for long enough to make things happen. I think that's really important at this moment and in this industry, as all these worlds are colliding, but have to work together to make it happen.
So the story of how this very cool strategic partnership came together is, I think, really special. But I want to go back perhaps a little bit further. Michael, you have a unique story when actually, you and I met and you've been a part of the Energy Dialogues family for quite a while. You were on a different track. You were headed to a consulting firm. I don't know if we're going to name names, but you were headed there. But instead, you chose to join a startup. Tell us a little bit about your story. How did you get engaged with Energy Dialogues, and what made you take the uncharted path you're on now? And what would you tell someone making similar decisions today?
That'll be a good segue because it is all back to Energy Dialogues of how all of this happened and how I'm sitting here today. So I guess the kind of long story background, Monika and I connected, I think it's 2020 or 2021, around the time when I was founding Energy Terminal. And at that point, it was a podcast. We were looking to bring executive conversations with the top energy executives across the industry down to students and young professionals, to help get people excited about this industry that is truly the foundation of everything else in our lives. And obviously, Monika has been one of the staunchest supporters of Energy Terminal from day one and the entire Energy Dialogues team. And so as we continued to grow that platform, our folks that we were engaging with, the large energy companies, were increasingly asking us to do more and help them with recruiting and help them with how they position themselves with the next generation. And that built this incredible client/sponsor base with all of these unbelievable companies, many of whom are engaged with Energy Dialogues as well. And through that, I had actually met this now CEO and founder of DG Matrix, Arun Anam. He was podcast episode number 16 way back in the day, and sometime in 2022. And at that time, as you mentioned, I was going to head off to McKinsey and do energy consulting in Houston. But the reality of where we're at in the market right now, and this was even before the whole AI data center boom truly came to fruition, but this is a once in a generation, maybe once in multi-generational opportunity where things are changing faster than ever before. And to truly be in the arena and be building during this time is the type of experience that I think anybody, especially someone earlier in their career, will benefit from enormously. So the value that I've gained of being in this role and getting to also work with people who are very senior in this industry and that I get to learn from, like Cam, is an amazing plus. That all the partnerships that we've built, all the executives that we get to work with on a daily basis, that, I always tell anybody that we're working with at Energy Terminal via the Emerging Leaders Program or anyone else in the community, optimize for the people. Monika has probably more than anyone helped me understand the value of that and see the value years down the line from since we started, and getting to work with folks like Cam and as well as folks on our own team is what I've optimized for. And it seems to be working out. At least I'm enjoying it.
And Cam, I want to jump to you. You've been a longtime supporter of Energy Dialogues, and you now are working on a significant strategic project with a connection made at an Energy Dialogue forum, which is great, but also with one of the students who was part of a student cohort at Energy Dialogues, a former student. Talk to me a little bit about what it's like to, be someone doing business with not just a connection made at a forum like Michael, but also to be doing that with someone who was a student at the time. How interesting is that?
Yeah, it's pretty rewarding. We just had a conference. I'm at the Advancing Data Center Construction Conference in Dallas here, and I somehow got roped into chairing it this week. So I'm having a blast. All those years of experience with Energy Dialogues has paid off. But some amazing conversations here this week, some amazing conversations this summer at my own dinner table. My daughter was part of cohort, I think number 3, a couple years after Michael. But it's very rewarding. I'm at the point in my career where for me, it's more about legacy, and relationships and building and leaving lasting relationships and leaving the legacy. And the big part of what I've been talking about here this week is being a great neighbor, and that's a thing for us in Texas. That's a big deal, that life and business is about relationships. And so being able to build those relationships with people who were students originally as part of these cohorts for Energy Dialogues. And now, getting to, Michael and I probably text Michael twice a day, the last 6 months back and forth on things we're trying to do together. And it's, and number one, what's fun is the client demand is unbelievable, for what their company and their technology can bring to bear and how we're able to kind of wrap that as a turnkey partner, especially for these, we're just in Texas. Michael's company is probably going to go global and explode, but at least here in Texas, there's this massive tidal wave of demand, which is exciting. And then I've got, like I said, my daughter, cohort number 3, I think, where she's now in a global government affairs role at one of the world's largest energy companies. And it's exciting because her internship was on Texas water policy. And so exactly what we're talking about on stage here this week is, if you're in the data center world today, you got to be a great neighbor. You got to have a power plan. You got to have a water policy. You have to be able to clearly communicate that to your community and your stakeholders, because it's so much like what I did in the oil and gas world for 30 years and Energy Dialogues is, if people just get to know you and what you're doing, they realize the heart behind what you're trying to do and what you're trying to bring. We're just trying to bring energy and power to the world, to the nat gas world, to make their world a better place and a better community. And so anyways, being able to do this in the industry is one thing, is great. And to be able to go from nat gas to data centers and see it all come together is amazing. But then getting to do it with students that have launched from Energy Dialogues and their cohorts, pretty incredible. And so, Monika, I think your leadership and your vision for all that's pretty incredible. I've had a blast getting to support you and to be a part of that. The impact of my career, and I love watching it impact the students and the next generation.
I'll also add that even just from that first NAGF where Cam and I met, I wish we could share who they are, but there are multiple other people at that conference that we met that we are actively working on projects with, including folks who've invested double-digit millions in DG Matrix. That's one of our largest projects we're working on with someone who's associated with that ecosystem. So it goes far deeper than we can share.
That's amazing. And it sounds like we need to do a case study, testimonial, follow-up, Michael. So thanks for the shout out. Monika, I want to take it to you. React to what you just heard from Michael and Cam about the impact that Energy Dialogues and a forum has on them individually, on their business relationships, on partnerships, on students. Just react to that. How does that make you feel?
I mean, I just kind of want to sit here and listen a little bit more to this, but no, the DG Matrix S&P story, the Cam and Michael story is the best version of what can come out of what we do. And we talk about this a lot internally, how, putting together something like the North American Gas Forum or any of our other events, it's a lot goes into it. Bringing the right speakers together, bringing the right sponsors and partners together, creating the right setting for the type of connections to happen that happen, that we know that happen. And there are a lot that we don't know about, right? Because when DG Matrix and S&P announced the program, both Cam and Michael texted me individually, and it made me very happy. Like on a personal level, it was just I thought, this is why we do what we do. But there are a lot of things that happen that we don't know about, right? Because not everyone thinks to reach out to Energy Dialogues first and say, hey, we met 2, 3, 4, 10 years ago, and now we're working together. So I really appreciate that you both speak about it and say how it started and where it started. And on a personal level, both Michael and Cam are really special friends to Energy Dialogues and an important part of the Energy Dialogues story and history. As we already said, Cam, you were part of the first North American Gas Forum. I mean, what a different event that was back in the days. And Michael, you were pre-cohort, because after we connected on LinkedIn and had all these many exchanges, you were a student when the next gen engagement and the student cohort weren't officially a thing. And I remember, was it that year or was it the following when you came up on stage and shared your story and why you were there and what you took away from it? Can't remember, but I just know it was so special and everyone in the room loved it. And I think we can all agree, we know how important it is to bring the next generation into the conversation. What a great example this is, right? Michael, you were a student a few years ago, and now look at you and what you're driving at DG Matrix. It's incredible. And Cam, you mentioned your daughter. Shout out to Megan. She was cohort number 3, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I cannot wait what she's going to do. And so many of these students that are now part of the cohort and sponsored by our partners, Williams, Constellation, it is wonderful to see that and to make those connections. And I'll add just one thing, which is we love putting together the events we do. We see the impact during the 2 days. The team at Energy Dialogues works so diligently on every little detail to make it perfect on site. And we love those days. And we put up a great show. But really, everything that happens after. If we don't move on from the great dialogue, I'm very often mentioning this, great dialogue is very important, but it only matters if after that there is progress and we find better solutions and we work together on delivering the energy we need and lowering the emissions that need to be lowered and doing all the great work that the people who show up at Energy Dialogues do. That's not what we do. We bring them together, but then what's really important is what happens after that.
I'll throw something else in if I can, an unpaid plug. But your events, I've told you this before, Monika. Your events are very classy. The attention to detail and excellence is obvious, and so I think that's why the quality of the attendees year after year after year for your events is very high, because they know that it's going to be a strong event, a strong outcome. So keep it up.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I want to do a quick round robin on something that I think has been a core of this conversation, which is connection and connecting people. Talk to me a little bit about any practical advice you would have for anyone listening to this on how to be a great connector of people and how to produce a network that actually produces partnerships. Michael, let's start with you. What advice do you have?
Sure. I think the first thing is just being genuinely curious, asking good questions, and really wanting to truly understand other people's businesses and what's important to them. Going into a conversation and understanding, hey, what is the value that I can get out of this is one thing, but truly understanding how you can deliver value to the other person makes that sort of connection so much more important. And then the second thing is just, being able to keep in contact is so much more important than actually meeting that person the first time. Cam and I met 5 years before anything business related came of it. But I knew it was like, hey, I know I like this guy. I know that I can learn a lot from him. I'm genuinely curious. We're very values aligned in many different ways. And this is someone that I want to keep in contact with. And so that, follow on and relationship building is super, super important. One other thing that I always tell to all of our energy terminal students is that there is so much value in connecting with people who are, in your same phase of the career, as well as looking out ahead, balancing having that mentorship with people who are much more experienced than you, but also with the people who are more of your peers. And that has definitely paid dividends for me personally. And I know a lot of the other people in the energy terminal ecosystem who have heeded that.
Cam?
Yeah, I love the question. So I've used this in kind of as I've grown into more of a sales and marketing, more of a CRO type roles for companies. And I say something that maybe is a little bit cheesy and not always, but I lead with love. I mean, I love people. I feel like God made me to love every human on earth. And so I genuinely love building relationships with people. And like Michael said, I want to learn more about them. We talked on stage this morning, I want to know people's story. That's one of the first things I always want to ask. I want to know the heart behind who they are and what they're trying to accomplish and where they're trying to go. And it's wild in this industry today in the data center construction world. It's incredible how much like the oil and gas construction world it has become, because it's all become, Michael said megawatts earlier, it's gigawatts now, right? I mean, it is multi-gigawatt, multi-billion-dollar campuses where they're talking about man camps in the Permian. And it is like, look, 5 years in the Middle East and 10 years in Asia, it's so much like like sort of my background, which is these multi-GC, multi-EPC, multi-billion-dollar remote man camp-based projects. You can't do it without relationships. Genuine, authentic relationships. Sometimes people can try to build command and control, top-down contracts to build things, and yes, you have to put pen to paper, but when you want to truly build something special at scale and in a hot market where most of my selling now is down, not up to my clients. It's down to my trade partners because they get to pick who they build for. And so I'm out loving on our electrical partners and our mechanical partners and others because we're not going to be successful. And so my job is to convince them to come build with us instead of somebody else because we're going to take great care of them.
That's a great message. Monika?
It's tough to follow Cam and Michael because over the years we had so many of these conversations of the work on relationships and connection. But so I would echo a lot of what they already said. I think it's being authentic. I think it's not being transaction. And it's very difficult sometimes to do that because it's, we live in a world of business and that's how we meet a lot of people. But I think genuinely what matters is that you're interested and curious and not so much thinking about what's the what can you get out of it, but what can you give back? How can you help people be more successful, be connected, be just doing a little bit better what they're doing and offering some value. From our perspective, mine at Energy Dialogues and Energy Dialogues as a whole, our job is connecting, right? And we do that during our events and throughout the year and through the membership and all of those things. I feel lucky because my default way of functioning is the moment I meet someone, I'm thinking about who to connect them with. What would make sense for them? Who could they speak to? Who should they speak to? Who could they work with? And so I'm obviously in a position where I can do that every day as part of the work we do at Energy Dialogues. But I think it's really the most important part is just being genuine, taking interest in who you're talking with. And there's so many interesting people and pathways and experiences out there. And so I feel we're all very lucky to be able to do that every day, to just genuinely engage with people and learn about, yes, what they do, but who they are and what they care about and what drives them and where they want to go.
That's great. And I think that's a great place to end. I want to say thank you so much to Michael, Cam, and Monika for joining us on this very special episode of the Energy Perspectives podcast. Michael and Cam, we look forward to seeing you again at the North American Gas Forum this year in DC, November 30th to December 2nd. And just really appreciate you being a part of the Energy Dialogues family.
Thank you so much for having us. This was wonderful.
Yeah, enjoyed being together.
What a pleasure to do this together. Yeah.